Today, you're going to hear from a legit warrior, just a journeyman. See, one of the great things I love about what we do is that I get to speak to great men. And I'm not talking about some great men in the last few years. I'm talking about this man you're going to hear from today, Lloyd Ross Sr., has gone the distance. He's going decades and he's not backing off. He's going until. So, Lloyd Ross Sr., goodness me, before you hear from him today, I just want to just really listen to this interview because he says so many nuggets along the way. You've got to listen to it really carefully. But he was the #1 salesman in selling insurance from 84 to 92, the #1 consistently over those years. And there was twice he sold face to face 100 policies in 1 week. Can you imagine sitting down 100 policies in 1 week? Unbelievable. Like, he's setting records. He actually had titles for the international salesman globally in National Mutual. We're talking about a legend here in every field. And I could keep going on, but I want to let him tell you the story. And currently in the last little while, the last few years, he's sold over $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion worth of real estate. And what that says to me is he's sharing so much value with so many people. Over $1 billion of value he's sharing with people. And this is the thing, okay? He's been able to achieve this and navigate and many more things that you're going to hear through this interview. And he grew up without a dad. You know, his dad, you know, you wait and listen to what happened. So, men, I don't know what's held you back, but I guarantee you listen to this interview today, you are going to be inspired. You are going to be inspired to become a better family man, a better husband, a better father. You're going to be inspired to be a better businessman and growing your faith. You know, even when I was talking to him before, I said, oh, yeah, we'll talk about a range of different things, but he said, man, Christian values, and that's what this guy is. He's the essence of Christian values. So maybe grab a cup of coffee, sit back, get somewhere quiet. I would even suggest get a notebook and pad and listen to this interview because you're going to get so much out of it. Enjoy it. Hey everyone, Gavin Lancetop here. I'm here today with Lloyd Ross Sr. An absolute pleasure to have this man speak. I've actually had him speak with us before, and I'll never forget that, mate. It was a few years ago, but you just floored the crowd. So I'm believing that's going to happen today. But just in case, you probably have, but just in case, I'll introduce Lloyd and talk about a couple of his achievements. Mate, you're from the Gold Coast, back there. I mean, everywhere you're an icon, you're a legend. But one of the things that I love about you the most is your family values, what I've seen you create with your children, is just, I think that's the real title. So mate, thanks for coming on today. So mate, I mean, you know, particularly what we're around about the Man Alive and we're running Become a Better Man challenge, you know, coming up shortly. But mate, tell us about your story because you're so inspiring. I remember when you spoke to groups of men before. Tell us, mate, tell us your journey. We've got time. Tell us what was it like growing up. I mean, how did you become? You know, I remember you talk about another achievement. You become a millionaire in your 20s. You know, like tell us your story, please, mate.
Oh, geez, Gav, it's like the story's a long journey,
Yeah.
a very long journey, and I don't know even where to begin. You
Well,
know,
what about when you first started, when you left school and you got into, the workforce?
well, I suppose I got an apprenticeship as a plant mechanic, earth moving equipment, and I probably wasn't really good at it, but it was at least the job. And that was an expectation at that age. You leave school, get a job, and hopefully get a good quality, good apprenticeship, and you make your way in the world from there as you start to earn an income, and you do the things that you do as a young man.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you get into, I suppose, business? I mean, you got into obviously insurance. How did that come about? Because I suppose I'm asking you these questions because there's going to be a lot of men that are maybe starting their journey or maybe hit a spot where they've kind of plateaued in their journey. So, mate, how did you get involved in the insurance?
Well, probably a little bit of luck, Gav. I went to England when I was 19 and pursuing a different sort of place in my life. And, whilst I was living in the UK, and then I eventually came home, I didn't want to do what I'd been doing before I'd left. So I looked around the place where I lived, and I looked at the people that I thought were successful and having a good life, and decided that I'd sort of imitate them.
Yeah,
So I walked into an insurance company and asked them for a position. And in those days, they didn't sort of give people who were under 25 an opportunity.
okay.
So I'd go back every week um, at 3 o'clock every Friday and ask them for a position. And after about 3 months, the sales manager, a good friend of mine, still is, his name's Vic Hatfield, and he was one of my mentors in my early life. He eventually made the decision as a sales manager, even though I was only 22 at the time, that he'd give me an opportunity. So he probably fudged the books a little bit without meaning to be do anything wrong,
Yeah,
because he saw the enthusiasm, and I turned up every Friday for 3 months,
yeah,
and I was determined that I wanted to be in the insurance business
yeah,
because I liked all the things that the insurance business offered. The protection of families, and in the event that something happened to the breadwinner in the family, or the other person in the family. Yeah, so it was just something I wanted to do and had a desire to do that, and I was determined to do it.
yeah. And I think, mate, that's a good point, isn't it? Like a lot of people, they get the first no or the first setback, they stop, don't they?
They
And
do.
and Vic, man, that's amazing. I mean, would have been a great honour for Vic to actually watch you and mentor you, and I suppose, I mean, what were some great qualities that you picked up from him?
Vic Hatfield is probably one of the people in my life that I see as a good person in so many different ways. He's helps a lot of people and has helped a lot of people over the years. He's also a very good Christian. He has very good Christian values. He has a wonderful family.
Yeah,
And he's also, to me, he was sort of like the father I never had.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's like you say that it's something that we talk about in the amount of life experience. We're all fathers, even if we don't have children. You know, I think in my case, I feel like I'll ask you the same thing. Do you feel like you've fathered a lot of men and maybe women as well that were not your kids?
Well, that's true. It is.
Yeah,
And I mean, I think we all like to help others and do the best we can to make their lives a bit better, and be the people that they should be and become the people they should have been always.
so,
And you
mate,
need
where did
helpers,
you pick up that determination to keep going back? I love
do you? Well, I guess, Gav, I guess we've always got to be wanting to be the best version of ourselves.
that. Yeah,
And over and above being the best version of ourselves, it then sets us up to be able to help others
mm,
to become the better version of themselves,
yeah,
and have the better life and enjoy their life and have a life of happiness.
yeah.
Because happiness, is the main game. It's probably the only game, really, true
Well,
happiness.
yeah, it's a long, hard march, isn't it?
Without happiness, you know, like you haven't got a lot going on without
Yeah,
happiness.
yeah,
And that's a
yeah.
fact.
So, mate, I know we're getting started. There's so many things I want to ask you. So, you were in that insurance, you were getting mentored by Vic. Then like, I mean, obviously, you had some great success. What was happening there through those years, the 20s?
Well, in those days, it was going back a long time, but it was quite I really didn't fit the bill. The insurance companies wanted you to be, first of all, married, which I wasn't,
Yep.
because they wanted you to be, in a steady situation. They wanted you to have a home and a mortgage, so you had some responsibilities. They didn't particularly like the fact that even if you had a drink or smoked and you were under 25. So I didn't cut the mustard on any of those things, right? Because I wasn't married. I did have a few drinks, not too many, but a few, and I did smoke, and I was under 25.
Yeah.
So they had those, qualifications to be able to start in what they seen was, a role as a consultant or an agent to be able to go out there and talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I didn't really fit the bill, so to speak,
Yeah.
but I had the enthusiasm and the desire
Yeah.
to be able to grow into that role that they,
Yeah.
perceived that they wanted. That after my first year or 18 months, I was the champion consultant for New South Wales,
Yeah.
and Vic had to address the regional manager to tell him that I was under 25 and then I wasn't married and I didn't have a mortgage.
Yeah.
And his name was John Wiseman. He's still a great mate of mine as well.
Nice.
So he sort of slipstreamed that through to the state manager and head office, and they allowed it to keep going on because,
Wow.
it mean that their selection process was probably not as on par as what they thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's that old saying? Numbers don't lie.
The
You get the
results.
numbers and everything else will be
Results.
worked out.
That's it. Results. Huh?
Yeah, results. That's good.
Well, in those days, like in the insurance business, there was a lot of agents through the country with the likes of the biggest institutions like AMP and National Mutual and others, and they had thousands of agents, and the industry average was about zero point 0.8 sales per week, which wasn't a terrific average
Yeah.
really. Not when you think about it. Like it was hardly a living,
Yeah.
zero point 0.8 sales a week, but it was a business that and an industry that did help people and provide things to people.
Yeah. So what about like if it's 0.8 in a week, the average, and then you done? I mean, how did that come about? Doing 100 in a week, 100 plus?
Well, if it's not something you actually um, it doesn't just happen. It's
No.
sort of built on over a period of time. So I started. I was always determined to do a couple a week, and sometimes three, and then I built it up to 4 and 5, and then I started to pace myself, and I'd want to write 5 to 10 policies a week, and change, the process of the numbers, but that was really all about just working harder and working longer, and chasing those goals. I remember I was at a forum in Melbourne addressing 300 people or so, and I made the comment that I thought you could write, and I genuinely thought you could write 100 policies in a week. And, with that I had a lot of negative people suggesting that that's not possible. 2 years later, I was at a forum, I think it might have been in Sydney, and I made the same comment to a large number of people, and there was a guy in the room, and I've always thanked him for this. At the time I didn't. He stood up at the back of the room and challenged me and said, "Lloyd, I heard you say that 2 years ago,
Oh,
and you still haven't done it." And I went,
oh,
you...
that's what you needed.
So after that forum, I went back to where I lived and I made a plan. And the following week, I went to Sydney, and I made a decision that I needed to write 20 policies per day, and I was going to continue to, work for as long as it took each day to do that. I think on the first day, from memory, I did about 26, and probably didn't finish till
Had
11.
that been the first time you'd done that many?
Yeah, the first time. It was the first time I'd done 26 in a day. Yeah, it was. But I did start, 6 o'clock in the morning and finished at 12 o'clock that following night. Then I'd go back to the hotel room where I was staying and I would complete the paperwork, which was another couple of hours, so that was still fresh in my mind and so on. And then I'd have, a couple of hours sleep and then have a shower and get dressed and go out and hit the road again at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I did that on the Tuesday and then the Wednesday. And by the time I got to Wednesday, I think I'd done 66 policies at that time.
Yeah,
So I knew I was getting sort of close to my goal.
yeah,
On the Thursday, it was a pretty tough day too.
yeah.
And I didn't probably do as well on the Thursday that I thought I would, for one reason or other. And, just
You
sometimes
were
it's the way
fatigued,
it
you're
is.
tired, mate. That's
Well,
why.
and then on the Friday, I had a pretty good morning, and I did probably 7 or 8. And I turned up at a railway depot that was quite a substantial depot, and Stevie Wright. Stevie Wright, he was a good singer from the Easy Beats.
Okay.
You probably might remember Stevie
I,
Wright. He
I,
from
I
the Easy
remember,
Beats.
I remember, hear about the easy beats. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was the Easy Beats. Stevie became a client of mine, and he liked the things that I'd suggested to him and so on. So he became a client, and we chatted away for half an hour. And he said to me, he said, Lloyd, you should probably stay here. And by this stage, it was about 1 o'clock or something. And he said, there's 3 or 4 truckloads of my, work colleagues that are coming back to the depot, and they finish about 3 o'clock. And he said, when they turn up, they'll be, they'll take off pretty quickly. He said, but I'll try and help you and suggest that they have a chat with you. So when the 3 or 4 trucks turned up, and there's a lot of guys there, Stevie, to his credit, he said, look, I've spent a good hour with Lloyd. I like what he's shown me. I've become a client of his, and I'd like you to have a chat with him.
yeah.
So I did a big group presentation to a lot of them. Some of them left.
Nice. You were used to doing group presentations?
Well, I'd done probably 4 and 5 people at a time, but I'd
Yeah,
never
yeah,
done sort of 30 or
yeah.
40. And, there's always one in the crowd that wants
Right.
to, either hinder you or help you.
Yes.
I picked on, sort of for a better word, the guy that was giving me a bit of grief, and I won him over. And when I won him over, the rest of them followed.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I was able to then, reach the target of 100
Yeah.
policies by the
Wow.
afternoon.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Just like butt in there, mate. Like just listening to you, where that gentleman you're talking to, crowd, he kind of, I don't know if you meant to do it in a positive way, but you took positive from it when he challenged you, which is good. And I like what you said. You went home and you made a plan.
yeah. Always
That's
got to,
just it, isn't it? How many men don't have a plan?
yeah. We do, you go. You need, I mean, the person you talk to the most is yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's constant.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on in your day or your life, you're always talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And you're asking yourself questions, and you're trying to work out what you should be doing and how to make it better,
Yeah.
and how to go about getting the results that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And that sometimes you have more difficult days than others, but I always work on the basis that once you get up and you're vertical, the day's beginning on a positive note, isn't it?
Yeah. You're in the
Because
game.
sadly, there's some people who don't get up and they're not vertical.
Right.
So from there, it's just a matter of making the day positive and being positive about what your objectives are, and the people. What makes your life go is having good people around you
Yeah.
and putting yourself around good people. as I said earlier, having good mentors,
yeah,
is an important part of day-to-day life.
yeah,
Likewise, your family. Your family gives you the drive. And likewise in our respective partners in life. They give us the reason for living and the reason to be happy.
yeah. And I like when you said absolutely. I totally agree, 100%. But Stevie, right? You must have. I suppose what's the word? Obviously, you built a friendship with him when he was wanting to help you. That's something, isn't it? I mean, it's a testimony to your character, and I suppose what you did for him.
Well, look at Stevie Wright. Stevie Wright was a great singer, and they had a great band.
Yeah,
And I mean, their lives were just so well. The things that they achieved was quite
yeah,
substantial.
yeah,
And then it sort of went a little bit sideways.
yeah,
And for me to find Stevie Wright, in a railway depot as a timekeeper,
yeah,
it was a bit. I was thinking to myself, wow, one day you're sort of on top of the mountain, and the next day you're sort of at the bottom of the mountain having to climb again.
yeah,
So I felt for him,
yeah,
and he told me a fair bit of the story about his life and where he'd got it right and where he'd got it wrong.
yeah, yeah,
And I said, well, let's put it back on track and get it right and do the best we can
yeah,
and help you the best we can. And, and he had, family at the time, and let's put a savings plan into place and put some insurance cover into place in case something happens to you and so on,
yeah.
which
No,
he
that's
did.
terrific, mate. That's so good. And I suppose that's what I mean. I would think that most men that are on mission, helping others is a part of it. We want to do it. I think it just organically comes out of us, doesn't it?
Gavin, when I was 8 years of age, and I think you probably do know this story, but I'll share it with others.
Yes, yeah.
When I was 8 years of age, I got woke up one Thursday, and guess what happened?
Tell me.
My mother told me my father had been killed in a road accident.
Yeah, yeah,
All of a sudden, your life changes like that
yeah,
because he was gone. And it's difficult at 8 years of age, or at any age, doesn't matter what it is. I mean, and there's a lot of others out there that unfortunately and sadly experience that. So I'm certainly not alone on this one.
no,
But it's a game changer because the breadwinner of the family's gone,
yeah,
not coming back, not coming home.
yeah. And I mean,
So it
you say
just,
the breadwinner, but there's so many elements to being a father, a husband, a man, isn't there?
yeah, yeah. So, because of that experience, when I got into the insurance business, I wouldn't share that story, but I had the passion
Mm,
within me. And
yeah,
when I got to know people after they become a client of mine, then I would tell them the reasons that I thought that what they were doing was the right thing
yeah,
after
yeah,
they became a client. Because
yeah,
I wanted them to understand it and see the benefits and
yeah,
see it themselves.
yeah.
I didn't want to use that, for a better
No,
word, to encourage them to do it.
yeah,
But after they signed up on the dotted line and they become a client, then I would share that with them and that
yeah,
experience and tell them what it was like growing up without a breadwinner in the family and
yeah,
and a father.
yeah,
So, it's because of what life, deals you. When there's negative things like that in your life, you got to sort of try and put it back into perspective and put it back into a positive flow. Like you could either fall off the rails forever,
yeah,
or change it.
yeah,
And I made a decision that I was going to
yeah,
change it, make
yeah.
it better.
Hey, hope you're enjoying this video. This is just a quick ad break for our Become a Better Man 5-day challenge. Level up in your family, in your business, and grow in your faith. Who's this for? Well, this is for men that know they're operating at a 7 out of 10 and want to become a better man. So through this 5-day challenge, man, you are going to grow as a man. You're going to get answers to questions you didn't know you had. You're going to do it with me and a group of other men that are going to, it's a challenge. They're going to test you. They're going to inspire you. So click the link below. Check it out. There's 2 options. Listen, I look forward to seeing you in the challenge. You've actually mentioned that a couple of times. I made a decision. And so you went back to that after that gentleman called you out. He said you made a plan, you made a decision to do it, and that's a testimony to you. I suppose that's why you've had the success that you've had, because you're a decision maker, which I think is brilliant. A lot of blokes, a lot of men are just, I'll see how it goes, but you know, that's why you see how it goes. You just get washed away.
Yeah, you can't do that. Like we get one life.
Yes.
I think the statistic is that we're one of 400 trillion chances of being born. Like
You
think
made
about
it, man.
400 trillion chances of being born. So let's say we happen to be lucky enough to be one of that 400 trillion.
Yeah.
Well, then let's make our life, as best we can, as happy as we can, doing the things that makes us feel good about what we've done, help people along the way, care about people. I was talking to a guy yesterday, he's currently going through a divorce, and I asked him why. And he said, well, I wasn't happy. I said, well, so what are you going to do about it? And he said, well, I don't know yet. And I said, well, you need to make a decision that you need to be happy and make your current wife and children as comfortable and as good as they can be in the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it so happens he'd had a few days just in recent times in Noosa, and he's made a decision that he's going to stay and be involved and with his wife and children, and he's not going to get a divorce now.
No, that's good. Good man.
Yeah. No,
Good man.
like,
And I think that's what sometimes as men we just need to get a sounding board. Like
yeah,
I suppose Vic was for you to get you going in insurance. And yeah, we can all be that somebody. And I suppose, mate, something I wanted to ask you, like I read out, you've had great successes. What about, I mean, obviously that was a challenge at 8 years of age and shaped your life. You've got a lot of motivation from that. And mate, because there's going to be people that are listening to this man and go, oh, but you don't know my story. But I've had it harder. I've had this. I mean, what are some other challenges maybe that you've come back from that'll give somebody some motivation today?
Gavin, I had a very large insurance practice, and it was one of the biggest in Australia, and it was doing a huge amount of business. 160 consultants, 42 staff, and we were doing a lot of business on a week-to-week basis. And an institution made a decision that they were going to demutualise, and part of that demutualising process was that they had to start terminating their agency force. And consequently, they started from the top. And on 7 days' notice, they terminated my agency.
Wow.
With no reason.
Agents and 42 staff.
160 consultants and 42 staff. And we had done 18,000 policies in 3 years. And the trail commissions were like $1.5 million a year.
And that's gone. That was wiped.
Wiped the whole base, right? I took them to the federal court and fought them and won for wrongful termination. But they just depleted the business, in a year. It was all gone. It was all finished. And the lives that they affected was dreadful.
Yeah.
So I consequently went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And and I'm thinking one day, you're a millionaire, next minute you're bankrupt because some institution decides to, terminate the whole thing overnight. Like it wasn't it wasn't a very good, very good
No.
experience. So, like, and you think, wow. So I made a decision at that point that I was going to fight for the people that were in that agency, and out of just like sometimes you think, well, I shouldn't have run that commercial litigation case because it cost a lot of money, but it was about principle with me and integrity and credibility. And I've always been able to look back and say, well, I got them for doing the wrong thing. You know, like it was a David and Goliath fight.
Yeah.
You can imagine. I think that they'd walk into the court with, you know, a few, a QC and a few barristers and solicitors, and eventually I ended up running the case at the last part of it on my own because I'd run out of money. And, so,
Yeah.
and one of my previous lawyers said to me, he said, "You've got the fastest law degree in Australia, Lloyd." Like,
Learn on the job,
I learned on the job, all right. How
and
you
you want it.
and I won it, yeah. But you know, you win, you win the fight, but you don't win the war because you know you're dealing with an institution, and the damages were just so horrific to a small business like mine at the time compared to theirs.
Yeah.
So I made a decision that I'd never put myself in the hands of an institution ever again. That I would be genuinely self-employed, running my own business, making my own decisions, not being at the tail end of some institution's decisions.
Yeah. And is that how then you got into real estate?
That's how I fell into the property business because, you know, I always had a passion for real estate and for property, but I was also committed to the insurance business because I built it over a period of years and I wanted it to be what it was. I would wanted it to grow bigger,
Yeah.
but, you know, it wasn't to be.
Yeah.
So I had to, you know, rethink the whole thing. And
Can
another
I
good
throw
mate of
in
mine,
there, mate? At that particular time when you were going through that, like who were the men that were supporting you, encouraging you? Like was Vic still around?
yeah.
Who did you? Because I would imagine. I mean, it would have been grueling. Talk about
Well,
a never-ending
yeah.
fight. You wouldn't have even known when it was going to end.
All my family and all my friends supported, you know, they understood what was happening. There were naturally a lot of people out there that I knew and they knew me, but didn't quite understand the, you know, the process of it. But my family did, and certainly my good and close friends did.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of support and a lot of moral support, you know, in that situation, to a point where, you know, a guy said to me because I didn't have enough money to run the damages case
Yeah.
against the institution.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he said to me, "Why didn't you come to me and ask me?" He said, "I would have given you the money to run the damages case."
Yeah.
But I said, oh, you know, it's not in my nature to borrow money from people. I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, it's not the thing I like to do.
Yeah.
um, but you know, another mate of mine, he said, Lloyd, and he's still a good friend of mine. He said, "Why don't you come and join me in my property business?"
Yeah.
So I did, and you know, I was still self-employed within his business,
Yeah.
and his name was David Bartlett, and he gave me a good kick into the property industry and the property business. And one day he had a bank on his own business went broke, and he said to me, "I never thought my bank would go broke."
Wow.
That was in the days of Pyramid when
Yeah.
it went
Right.
broke, and they were his bank. So you know, there's sometimes things happen, you know, for the reasons they do,
Yeah.
and you know, to the individual out there, sometimes you know, it's heartbreaking, but also, you know, it builds your character,
Yeah.
and you can't just give up, and you can't say no more, and
Yeah.
just, you know, go away and hide somewhere.
Yeah.
You can't live under a rock. You know,
Yeah.
so
But you say that, mate, but I've spoken to a lot of men and I've seen the look in their eye. They kind of they contemplate just giving up.
well, they
You know,
shouldn't.
they contemplate, like you said, like you had that conversation with the gentleman. They contemplate giving up, or some men give up on their families. You know, like what would I mean? Even you know, like what would be two things that you would two suggestions maybe? You know, to actually become a better man, what would be your suggestions?
Gavin, a few years ago, you invited me to a breakfast to speak at the Man Alive show.
Yeah,
And I was quite taken that day that first of all you'd ask me, but secondly the people that I saw in that room and that I'd spoken to, and some of the stories that they told me, I was enchanted by them, and I walked away from there and I took your book called Man Alive and I actually did read it.
yeah,
It's a great book,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Thank you.
Really is, mate. And I become I admire the Man Alive program and what it does,
Yeah,
and the way that it can help people through their trials and tribulations to get back on track and build something back into their life.
yeah,
And in doing so, the doors that open and the opportunities that open,
yeah,
it, you look back and say, well, I, I can look back and say, I'm not happy that my big insurance agency was terminated. But on one hand, I wouldn't have been in the property business, which has been very good to me over the years,
yeah, yeah,
and my family. So. There's horses for courses, but you just never give up, and you just keep going, and new doors open, new opportunities. And Man Alive program, certainly, like I watch you and follow you and see some of the things that the people are doing, and it's to be admired. And I would encourage others out there around the world. I mean, I like it when you talk about let's change the world, not
yeah.
just change a
We
town.
are.
Yeah, change the world. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And,
Cracker.
and, and, I, and I suppose, mate, like what Vic, Vic obviously impacted and changed your world for the next season. And like you're doing it for others as well. We can all, that's how we do it. Every man helps another man today.
I'll tell you something funny, Gav. The first day I started in the insurance business with Vic, he took me for a drive. And I still call him. Really, took me a long time to call him Vic. I always called him Mr. Hatfield, right?
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
Until I was probably in my thirties, actually, and because I respected him so much, and because he was my elder, and so on. Anyway, the first day he took me for a drive, and he said, "Come with me. I want to take you for a drive, Lloyd." And I said, "Where are we going, Mr. Hatfield?" He said, "You'll see." So he takes me out and we drive to the cemetery in the town that I lived. And we pulled up there and he said, "See those people in there? They didn't think they were going to be there yesterday or a month ago, but they are there." And he didn't have to say anything else to me. That was probably one of the best training
Wow.
sessions in the insurance business you could ever get, because it's reality that one day we won't be here
Yeah.
and it will be our turn to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we do go, we want to make sure that those that we care about and love are still in a good situation to be able to go on with their life and be as happy as they can possibly be.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
the insurance business does.
Well, that's a different training. You can't get that in the classroom. Love it, Mr. Hatfield. And mate, I mean, some other men that I've heard you mention. What about Steve Anderson? You had some good times with him.
Yeah, Steve Anderson, he's a great mate of mine, Steve.
Tell us about Steve.
Well, Steve, we worked together in the insurance business for a number of years, and then when it all went to like it did, we all had to find new vocations and new ways in life. So Steve started a building company to his credit, and one day I was having a chat with him, and I asked him how he was going. He said it was ticking along okay. And I said, well, I've got a marketing business and so on. Let's do some business again together, which we did. And so over the years, we did a lot of work together and a lot of business together. And Steve ran a very good building company, he and his wife Marie, and with Poppy and I doing the marketing, and they were doing the building.
Yeah, great.
They did very well from it, and we also did very well from it. Just,
Yeah,
being really good friends. trusting one another, unconditional trust. And
Yeah.
Steve, as a building company, which is unusual for a building company, Steve would ring me and say, let's catch up for a coffee. And I'd have 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 deals in the system of house land packaging that we were doing. And he'd say, well, look, I've got to pay you eventually, so I might as well just pay you in advance. So he'd pay off 8 or 10 deals in advance before he'd even got paid. Now,
Jeez.
that's unheard of in the building industry, in the
Yeah.
construction
Yeah.
industry. So Steve had a company called Heyman Homes. And Heyman Homes built a lot. We built a lot of homes. I think we built about 800 homes together. Steve being the builder, me doing the marketing, and so on. We recently just, at Christmas time, we went on a cruise together to South Africa.
Nice.
And the whole time, we're away for a couple of weeks on the cruise. And we don't, Steve doesn't have the building company any longer, and so on. But we for the whole 2 weeks, we didn't talk about any business or anything. We just, always appreciated each other and thanked each other for the components that we were to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so we didn't talk business. We're friends. Like it doesn't have to be always about business, and
No, of course
you know,
not.
it can be a lot of other things in a friendship.
Yes.
But yeah, I will say that I've had a lot of good relationships with a lot of good building companies over the years, and they've always built quality products and
Yeah.
delivered. You know,
Yeah.
I've never had one building company that hasn't delivered the product to our clients. Not
Yeah.
one. And
No,
that's 35 years. That's
that's unheard of.
you know, well, it is.
Yeah.
And the people I've had those relationships with, they've always done the right thing. And there's been a lot of integrity there, a lot of character, a lot of honesty. So it is about having good relationships with good people
Yeah. Well,
and
Lloyd,
do the right thing.
and I know you attract what you are.
That's true,
So
Gav.
the credit to you, mate. You've obviously attracted the right people.
Well, that's an important part of our life and our journey, isn't
Yeah.
it? Being
Yeah.
with good people. It's like in the business I have today. You know, Sarah, who you just met a little while ago,
Yeah.
Sarah was in our business, many years ago, and she got married and had children and left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we always missed her and everything. But many years later, 20 years later roughly, she come
Yeah.
back. So it's
Yeah.
good when they actually come back too.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Mariana, who works in the business with us, with Poppy and I, she's a friend of ours for 25, 30 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she works in the business. It's nice to have, that sort of relationship with your friends. We always say they work with us, Gav. They don't work for us. I mean, geez, you know, it is about a team effort for sure
Yeah.
in
Yeah. And
everything, in
I mean,
anything.
one that's what reminded of something. Yeah, we need help, and particularly blokes. I think men like you and I with this. How do you cope now with the world changing with all this technology that's coming into it? Um, I mean, I've got, I feel like I'm constantly going to be learning something new, which is great. But
Yeah.
how are you handling it? I mean, things have changed a lot.
The 40 years I've been self-employed or longer, probably 45 years now. The only constant thing with us is change.
Yeah,
And you either run with it or you don't. You really get to a point where you don't have any choice. So you've got to, grab a hold of it and
yeah,
do the best you can
yeah,
with that change. And I think that I think quite quietly that this next 5 years we're going to see more change than I've seen in 40 years in business. It's really on our doorstep, and we
yes.
can't say it's not, because it is.
No, it is.
Like when the internet came along, that was a game changer.
Mm,
And then when the likes of mobile phones, that was a game changer.
yeah,
And then when Facebook come along, I think it was in 2006, that become the beginning of a
yeah,
major game change as well. and we've seen a lot more since then, even
Yeah.
with those changes. With the future of AI,
Yeah.
it's going to be, well, my son Lloyd says that it'll be like the industrial revolution on steroids, and
Yeah.
I believe he's quite right.
Yeah.
And he's showing me things already,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, wow, I am a dinosaur. I,
But you know, like I'm sure you hear it as well. Like I heard people say, you know, I'm too old to learn that stuff. That technology or that Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I don't do that stuff. You know, when I hear men say I don't do that, I think, well, what do you do?
well, that's yeah, no, we'll see a lot of changes in
Yeah.
these next 5 and 10 years.
And
Tremendous.
even in your business today, how is that affecting you? How are you going there
Well,
in that respect?
that's a good comment, Gav. I mean, our business today, it's all online.
Yeah.
We get all inbound inquiries on the projects that we decide and select to be involved with and put our name to and put our brand to and build a relationship with for and on behalf of clients. Because, the clients that we work with, there's multi-facets of them. The investor,
Yeah.
and then that's the local investor. Then there's the interstate investor, and then there's the baby boomer person's age that starts thinking about downsizing from their home into a luxury lifestyle apartment. So you've got a multi-facets of different people doing different things at different stages in their life. So we have to be a little bit and they might have only bought a property every 5 or 7 years, and a lot can change in that 5 or 7 years since they bought their last property.
Yes.
So we try and do our best to stay abreast of all the specifics of legislation. Um, Things like, it might sound out there, but the basics of what a square metre rate for a brand new luxury lifestyle apartment is, so that
Yeah.
we know our clients are buying at the right price and
Yes.
not overpriced. In the right location, whether it's a 7 out of 10 location or a 9 out of 10 location based on price, or whether it's 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And the Gold Coast is what it is. I mean, it's the playground for Australians, as you know.
Yeah.
Its assets
Are
is.
you getting many international investors?
Um, probably not, simply because we don't sort of drive our business in that direction.
Yeah.
We drive our business towards Australian
Yes.
shores.
Yeah.
Like there might be the odd one or two that makes an inquiry, but most of I'd say 99.9% of our business is with Australians
Yeah.
who are investors or wanting to be new homeowners or downsizing and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
some of
you're
those
able
people,
to access all the social media where they can get you, they can find you.
yeah, they can find. Yeah, we've got we've probably got a 15,000 people that follow us,
Yeah.
being existing clients as well,
Yeah.
and they've got their friends and so on and families. And we have a closed group called Property Investing Mastery, and people can go to that site on Facebook and
Okay.
find us, and then they can quietly watch us and see the things that we do.
So
So
we can put that link in here for people to reach out to you.
if you want, if you like.
Oh, mate, we want to, absolutely. Mate, I would say with anybody that I come in contact, I want to hook them up with people, introduce them to people with integrity, with character, that are talking about going the distance, that are like what you've said, you make decisions, we're going to win no matter what. There, absolutely, Lloyd, mate. Let's definitely put the link in here for you, mate, for them. And who knows, you could end up driving them to the gravesite. Cemetery.
Welcome to the team.
Welcome to the team. That's good, mate. And like we talk about the technology, mate. Like I'm here in
Yeah,
the Mediterranean, in a little island called Gaza. You're on the Gold Coast. People are going to watch this, like I ask that because We have a lot of men doing our programs and buying our books and whatever
Yeah.
from America, Canada. I mean, here in the UK. I mean, everywhere. It's extraordinary, you know. So
Extraordinary is the right word, Gav. It captures my imagination. You know, with what you do with Man Alive program, what Lloyd does with his
yeah,
Money Grows on Trees and Five
yeah,
Steps to Millionaire, and what
yeah,
we do in our business, you know, with property and things like that,
yeah,
and the way that it works now,
mm,
wow! Like
yeah,
I'm, you know, I wish I was 35 again. You know, like,
mate. Hey, you get around like you are.
but you know, like the next generation, they got a lot. I mean, they'll have a lot of challenges for sure.
Mm,
Like, you know, in our
yeah,
generation, we've had a lot of challenges.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
we really have. Like, since I've been in business, in '82 there was a recession. In '87 there was a share market crash.
yeah,
You know, the '90s we had the recession that we supposedly had to have. We
yeah,
didn't see anything for 10 or 12 years. And then we had 9/11 pop along, which changed the world forever.
yeah,
And every time I walk through an airport, I think, oh my
yeah,
God, you know, the what happened, that was just so tragic and changed the world forever that it's never going to be the same. And then, along comes things like the bird flu and SARS, and then we had the GFC, global financial crisis. And in more recent times, having COVID, there's one thing I never thought, with the likes of COVID, that they would close the world down.
mm, mm,
And that really changed a lot in a lot of us too,
yeah,
because I think it changed the mindset of people and how they live and what
yeah,
their expectations going forward is all about.
yeah,
And I've even seen, COVID actually changed my business in a
yeah,
lot of ways,
yes,
because people started making decisions earlier than they may have done.
yes,
We've seen tremendous interstate migration
yeah,
from the likes of New South Wales and Victoria and country Victoria, New South Wales and Sydney, Melbourne. Like it's extraordinary, really.
yeah.
So I don't know what the next challenges are going to be, but
But we
they'll
know
be
there's
there.
going to be.
They'll be there, and but like when those challenges come, it builds a lot of character into us, and it builds a lot of we find our way through it because we are the machine and the type of humans that we are. And I don't think there's been a better machine built than a human.
No, definitely not.
No,
Definitely not.
because this human has a heart, this human has a soul.
Yeah,
I think that we are the best of the best.
yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah,
And with the future evolving, with the likes of AI,
yeah,
it won't have a soul. It'll be able
yeah.
to think, it'll be able to self think, but it won't have a soul and a heart.
No,
So we'll be around for a while yet.
mate. We are, particularly you, mate, irreplaceable. And mate, something that I wanted to ask you, a regard, because I mean, I've watched, well, I met you through your son, um, and I remember coming to what he fought one night, he boxed one night,
Oh, brilliant.
and I remember when I had a good mate there, we were trying something new. We started a book. I had a bookie there. I remember he won the fight, you backed him, and you cleaned the bookie out, which was absolutely extra. I remember the bookie coming up to me going, "Oh!"
That
And
was
I remember you didn't collect on the money,
no,
mate.
I didn't.
You just
No.
wanted to donate it, mate. Amazing. I made testimony very well. I got off track then, but what I was going to say, mate. How have you gone? Because I mean, even recently, one of your daughters. I remember you that saying you saying you caught yourself, or you got yourself a son-in-law. You've got daughter-in-laws, mate. I mean, you got a couple of son-in-laws.
Oh,
How it been? You're a little bit more down the track than me. Now that you've got adult children and they're getting married, and like we talked about Junior, he's releasing another book, and they're starting businesses, and they're impacting the world. How has it been from your position? I suppose I look at you, and you're like the godfather. the Don Corleone with good character. How
Yeah,
are you transitioning, mate?
I've been blessed with four wonderful children. Four wonderful children. And we all, all of us are blessed when we have children.
Yeah,
And I love them dearly. And I admire the things that they do in their life and the human and the people that they've become. And I'm also my two son-in-laws, and I've just got the second one, and
yeah,
I've got a daughter-in-law, and I've got one in the making.
yeah,
So I'm blessed that they're son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws from heaven,
yeah,
and I think of them that way.
yeah,
And I always made a decision many years ago that my son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, I would love them as much as I love my sons and daughters.
mm,
And that's about being a real family.
yeah,
And it doesn't just fall into your lap.
no,
That's the way the people that they become and the things that you are with them, and the way that we all care about each other and look after each other and look out for each other.
yeah,
When our kids get married, it's not just the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law that we get. We also get a whole new family.
yeah,
And like for example, Lloyd's wife Alicia, who
yeah,
with her mother Jen and
yeah,
Tash and
yeah,
Melissa, and and their husbands and their
yeah.
children. So it's just brilliant.
Multiplication.
It's like it's like Poppy with her family. Crystal, her niece, works in our business for 25 years.
Wow.
And she's
Yeah,
now married with children, and I think of those children like my own grandchildren.
yeah,
Like it's just it's brilliant the way
yeah,
we all, And I love the fact that you have seven children.
yeah,
Imagine that you get seven daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws from heaven.
yeah,
Imagine how big that family is going to be, and the
yeah,
wings.
yeah,
Like it's just so. And for those guys out there who are lucky enough to have children, spend as much time with them as you can,
yeah,
and
yeah,
help them as much as you can,
yeah,
and be that person that they look up to, and you're their father,
yeah,
and always be their father. You know, we can we give them a tap here and a tap there, and just the guidance program, and you know that and never be like, let's say my youngest son Cal, he's in the military, and he's been in the military for 11, 12 years, and he's a major, and I'm aware that he's probably going to be soon reposted back to Canberra, and and he's going to continue to be in the military, and he's having a wonderful career, and it's like Lloyd with what he's doing with about to release his third book, and
yeah,
as I said to you earlier, you inspired him to write the first one
yeah,
called Money Grows on Trees, and then from there, 5 Steps to Millionaire, and now he's about to write the third book and get published, and called Become Time Rich. Like,
yeah,
I have, so it's amazing, really, what happens with our kids, and I'm proud of my daughter Brooke. She's a nurse, and she married a nurse,
yeah,
and the people who get big points from me are, if you're ever not well,
yeah,
you happen to be in hospital, the
mm,
most important person in your life is your nurse,
yeah,
and the way that they help people. And,
yeah,
they're also involved in, likewise with Lloyd and Alicia, with isogenics, and
yeah,
they help people around the world become the better
yeah,
version of themselves,
yeah,
and change their mindset and the way they live. And, so I'm very proud of them for doing those sort of things,
yeah,
and they did it off their own. I their mother, she did a great, wonderful job with them at a young age, and
yeah,
through their life. And I got involved with watching them do the things that they do, and I'm so proud of the things that they do. More so from they did it off their own, from their own decision, and then they went on and decided to help a lot of other people, thousands in fact, right around the world, across 23 countries.
yeah,
So that's the world of today, isn't it?
And you, mate, I think, yeah, they did it off their own back, but they had you, mate. They had you inspiring them, leading from the front. So,
They
you
had,
know,
well, there's not,
congratulations. Yeah, like I say, they had their mum love them to bits. You know, I think it's, yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, there's a lot of men out there, listen to that. Their marriages have broken down. They are having challenges with blended families, and
yeah.
or maybe they don't even see their family anymore. What would be some encouragement to those men listening? Maybe,
Gee, that's a difficult one, but I would make a suggestion.
yeah,
Keep on trying. Don't give up. Build on that position that you're in to have a good relationship with your children, even if you don't any longer have a relationship with your ex. You can still be a nice person
yeah,
and go about it the right way,
yeah,
and have no harm in you. And
yeah,
remember that one day you won't be here, and when you leave this world to go to the next one, and there is a next one, leave those behind that you love and care and cherish the most,
yeah,
being and feeling as good as they can be about how you were.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, mate. Thank you. And what about the men that, like you say, have had challenges? Because I've listened to your challenges, like you say, with the court cases, with the bankruptcy, with different changes that are happening in the world, how business has changed, the stock market, as we've been seeing recently again. Normal, it's normal. The property market's up and down. Because I know that there's men that have gone through hardship, and are resisting changing with the times, because as I hear the challenges you've been through, they look to me like they've always leveled you up for the next challenge, the next opportunity. What would you say to those men that are
Well,
doubting themselves, maybe?
well, don't ever doubt yourself.
Mm,
Don't ever doubt yourself. And if you do, don't only let it be for a moment.
yeah,
Not until the following day. New game, new time. Right? Don't ever,
yeah,
don't give up. Stay in the
yeah,
saddle. As the saying goes, and just say, well, look, I I've gone through this terrible moment. I'm not going to let it change, be the moment for the rest of my life.
yeah, yeah,
I'm going to do something about this,
yeah,
and I'm going to start right now.
yeah,
Not tomorrow, right now. I'm going to start, and I'm going to make some adjustments in my life, and I'm going to be the person I've always meant to be, and I'm going to build again, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to be the nice person I am. You know, I'm sure everyone out there has got a good heart, a good soul,
yeah,
and they want a good life, and they want to
yeah,
be happy,
yeah.
and therefore they're entitled. I think people are entitled to be happy.
Mm, yeah.
But you have to work at it, and you have
Well,
to.
it's a bit like you've said, and I was just reminded as you said that then. I mean, we make a decision. And I remember reading years ago, and I used to keep it in my pocket, a little card that said, Abraham Lincoln once said that we're as happy as we make up our mind to be. So it's a decision.
Was
No matter what, man, I'm going to keep
yeah.
smiling. I'm going to look, things are up.
I love that quote from Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it's all me in good stead over the distance over time too. It really has. Yeah, it really has.
Mate, it's been so good to chat with you, mate. Been so good, and people that are watching, hey, leave us a comment. We'll put some links in there, um, so you can find out more about what Lloyd Senior does. Not just to mention his character and his integrity and his generosity, how he helps others, but he uses business to be able to do that as well, which is just extraordinary. I mean, even from my perspective, we'll put a link in there. We've got our next uh, Become a Better Man challenge. Yeah, a challenge we do over 4 or 5 days. Hey, I think we all can become better. I know I can.
We all can.
Yeah. So,
We
so
all can.
mate, take us out with some Lloyd Ross wisdom, mate, on your final comments, mate. What would you like to say to the amazing people that are going to listen?
If you're ever lonely, if you ever need any help, my number is 0411 722 741. You're always welcome to give me a call, and if I can help you in any way on a personal level, I'm very happy to do that at any time.
What a man. What a man. Mate, I would imagine your phone's going to start ringing when we get off there. I can just imagine what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
All
I
right.
want to say a massive thank you. Um, yeah, I'll be online. I'll probably see your son, Lloyd J. Ross, his next book launch at the end of the yeah, it's coming up in a few weeks' time. Uh,
29th of May. Can't
there
wait.
you go. There you go.
Can't wait for this one. This will be a beauty.
Yeah,
This will be a kick it out of the
yeah,
park.
yeah. Time rich.
Become
Love it.
time rich. I
Yeah.
love the title. And
All
go good
right,
on.
mate.
Good to see you, mate, and all the best to your family and lots of love
Yes,
and care. All right,
yes. Lots of love to you, mate. Thank you.
there, mate. Bye, everyone.